The BRICS summit ended in Rio de Janeiro this week with a carefully worded and non-controversial 31-page joint declaration. The declaration warned the rise in tariffs threatened global trade, which was a veiled criticism of Trump's tariff policies. Hours later, Trump warned he would punish countries seeking to join with the grouping. Trump said in a post on Truth Social, "Any country aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. There will be no exceptions to this policy." Trump did not clarify or expand on the anti-American policies reference in his post. The original BRICS group gathered leaders from Brazil, Russia, India, and China at its first summit in 2009. The bloc later added South Africa, and last year included Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates as members. Saudi Arabia has held off formally joining, according to sources, while another 30 nations have expressed interest in participating in the BRICS, either as full members or partners, whilst BRICS members keep mentioning the group's growing clout. But this is causing further complexity. There are questions about the shared goals of an increasingly heterogeneous BRICS group, which has grown to include regional rivals along with major emerging economies. BRICS was created 15 years ago, and despite lots of heady talk on issues such as de-dollarization of the global economy, this has now lost its force. India's presence in the grouping seems increasingly performative. It may continue to indulge the BRICS rhetoric, but it values its defense alliance with the West and is in the advanced stages of trade negotiations with Washington. If the BRICS is to avoid the fate of the G77 bloc of developing nations, which faded into irrelevance as its membership ballooned, it needs to deliver on any single issue. Whilst the Western-led post-war order may have passed, the era of an alternative bloc still remains a distant prospect. U.S. President Donald Trump released the first batch of letters to its trading partners this week, starting with allies Japan and South Korea, notifying them of their new tariff rates with America, beginning August 1st. The president noted that goods from the two countries each will be charged 25% tariffs. The president then released several other letters, levying a 40% rate on Myanmar and 32% on Indonesia. Trump told allies that retaliatory tariffs will be met with additional tariffs. If for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by will be added to the 25% that we charge, he wrote in the letters. Trump's tariff letters are shaping the outline of a new Asian tariff wall that will devastate regional and global supply chains. Despite these countries being U.S. allies, Trump's tariff war believes that bullying will force other countries to bow down quickly and submit to its demands. Although Trump's tariff move will likely incentivize Asian nations to turn to China for trade. By constantly moving the goalposts, the Trump administration has called that process into question and weakened its credibility as a negotiating partner. To effectively compete against China in Southeast Asia, the United States must demonstrate that it is a reliable and predictable partner that can be trusted over the long term. The measures being announced signal the opposite. The Trump administration has announced that it will issue sanctions against Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur for the West Bank and Gaza. The move follows the American unsuccessful campaign to force the international body to remove her from her post. In recent weeks, Albanese has issued a series of letters urging other countries to pressure Israel, including sanctions, to end its deadly bombardment of the Gaza Strip. She's also a strong supporter of the International Criminal Court's arrest warrants against Israeli officials, including Netanyahu, for allegations of war crimes. She most recently issued a report naming several large U.S. companies as among those aiding what she described as Israel's occupation and war on Gaza. Human Rights Watch, in a statement, said the U.S. government's decision is actually all about silencing a UN expert for doing her job, speaking truth about Israeli violations against Palestinians, and calling on governments and corporations not to be complicit. We now live in a world where the U.S. and its Western allies are destroying every sacred cow they used to believe in. Rather than challenging the evidence against Israel, the U.S. is now turning to the classic tactic that gangsters resort to of bullying others into submission. What this all shows is the U.S. has nothing to defend Israel with. It's now run out of intellectual arguments.